In Part 1, we looked at how newly discovered Stone Age spearpoints are challenging the long-accepted belief that prehistoric campsites in Clovis, New Mexico represent the earliest human artifacts in North America. Acceptance of pre-Clovis dates for the peopling of the Americas is not universal among archaeologists, said Mike Waters of Texas A&M University. There are some very strong proponents of Clovis first. Accepting an earlier date, earlier than 13,000 years ago, requires archaeologists to come up with a new hypothesis about how the first Americans crossed from Asia to North America. In fact, they asserted that settlement in North America 16,000 years ago would have been out of the question because the planet was still in the grips of the last ice age, and passage from Northeast Asia to Northwest Alaska would have been blocked by enormous ice sheets. This is significant because the Clovis culture was long believed to be the oldest in North America. The Clovis first theory held that the first Americans crossed over the Bering Land Bridge, which was then accessible due to lower sea levels, from Northeast Asia to Alaska. Then they moved south into the continent via an ice-free corridor that opened between two massive ice sheets. Until recently, the exclusive avenue into the New World was considered to be the interior or ice-free corridor route. The first Americans proceeded south through the Mackenzie River Valley between the sinuous Cordilleran ice sheet and the far more extensive Laurentide ice sheet. The ice-free corridor between the Laurentide and Cordilleran ice sheets was open and traversable by humans around 14,000 to 13,000 years before present. In order to explain a very early human presence, including in southern Chile and now in Pennsylvania and Idaho, a decades-old coastal migration hypothesis has been resurrected by recent scholars. Initially advanced by Simon Fraser University archaeologist Knut Fladmark in 1979, the notion that humans moved rapidly along the Siberian coasts, then along the southern margins of Beringia and down the Pacific coast of the northwest United States and points south, has long been endorsed by a few other archaeologists. Dr. Fladmark argued, way back in 1979, that the hypothesized narrow corridor between the Laurentide and Cordilleran ice sheets was likely to have been blocked or extremely difficult to travel through on foot. The resulting postulated movement is thought to have involved both limited pedestrian traverse and the extensive use of watercraft. The Pacific Coast Migration Model proposes that people first entering the Western Hemisphere, beginning along the southern edge of the Beringia landmass, followed the Pacific coastline. Archaeologist Lauren Davis of Oregon State University said, "What we think is most likely is they could have worked their way by walking and paddling along the North Pacific coast." Paleo-Indian peoples traveling in boats along the shoreline and subsisting on marine resources would have had a much easier time reaching the unglaciated shores of Oregon and California and beyond. Finding evidence of this journey is challenging due to the rigorous climate around the Gulf of Alaska and northern British Columbia. If humans arrived at the ancient Native American settlement of Nipihi, now known as Cooper's Ferry in Idaho, 16,000 years ago, the area would have been colder in the winters. Mastodons and mammoths still roamed North America along with direwolves and American horses. Otherwise, life at Nipihi would have been instantly recognizable to the Nez Perce tribe of 500 or 600 years ago. Though the oldest evidence of humans in the far west may well be submerged, under the water that rose and covered the Bering Land Bridge, no known site conclusively demonstrates an earlier use of the coastal route. Many New World archaeologists have maintained long-standing biases against the potential role of watercraft in the initial dispersal of the first Americans, and the crucial role of non-durable technologies, especially plant fiber-based industries, in the successful colonization of the new lands. This is particularly perplexing, given the ample ethnographic evidence that perishable technologies form the bulk of hunter-gatherer material culture, even in Arctic and subarctic environments. If boats of any kind, but most probably Umiak-style skin-covered vessels, were accessible to the first migrants in the New World, the use of boats would have permitted a coastal entry anywhere south of Beringia and the Cordilleran Glacier. There is still an open question about how the prehistoric campsite in Idaho survived massive flooding from melting ice sheets at the end of the last ice age. But if you zoom in on the affected areas, you'll see Cooper's Ferry is south and east of most of the nearest affected areas, which might explain its survival. The Cooper's Ferry dates are part of a growing body of evidence that humans reached North America thousands of years before scientists had long assumed. This site is contributing to a new understanding of the peopling of the Americas. There have been plenty of archaeological discoveries of the later 20th century, with advanced sites demonstrably older than, and distinctly different from, those of the Clovis horizon. But don't worry, Clovis, we still appreciate your contribution to archaeology. Thank you for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel for new videos every week or two, and see the description below for a list of books and online resources featured in this video.